In a small Texas town where life moved at an easy pace, Daniel, a 30-year-old mechanic, worked tirelessly in his modest garage. His days were long, filled with greasy tools, old engines, and the constant smell of oil and metal. Though his work was simple, Daniel carried a quiet pride in it, and his heart remained generous despite his limited means. People respected him for his honesty, but no one truly knew the depth of his skills. That summer afternoon, his quiet life changed when a black limousine stopped in front of his garage, drawing curious stares from passers-by. The car door opened, and stepping out was Victoria Hayes, a powerful billionaire woman in her late 40s. With her commanding presence and elegant clothes, she seemed completely out of place in the dusty surroundings. But what caught Daniel's attention more was the young woman by her side. Isabella, her 19-year-old daughter, sat in a sleek wheelchair, her delicate hands resting on the wheels, her eyes sharp with both sadness and mischief. Though her beauty was undeniable, the weight of her condition lingered in her expressions. She was no ordinary visitor, and Daniel sensed it instantly. Isabella had lost the ability to walk after a devastating accident that had turned her once vibrant life upside down. Known in her circles for her charm and sharp humor, she had now grown used to masking her pain with quick jokes and bold remarks. As Daniel approached them, Isabella tilted her head and teased him right away, pointing out the grease on his hands. "Maybe I should marry a mechanic instead of the boring men in suits my mum introduces me to," she said lightly, her voice dancing between humor and longing. Daniel froze, startled, but her laughter broke the tension. Victoria wasted no time explaining why they had come. She had heard whispers about Daniel, stories that he once built a prototype exoskeleton for his late brother who had struggled with mobility issues. Though not a doctor, Daniel had shown brilliance with machines, and Victoria clung to the rumor with desperation. "I'll pay you whatever you want," she pleaded, her eyes glistening with unspoken pain. At first, Daniel shook his head, insisting he wasn't a miracle worker. But when Isabella's gaze met his, hopeful, joking, yet filled with quiet sorrow, something inside him shifted. He couldn't bring himself to turn away. Over the next several weeks, Daniel began working tirelessly in his garage, transforming scraps, old circuits, and rusty frames into something new. Isabella visited, often wheeling herself into the garage, sometimes just watching him work, other times filling the silence with her teasing remarks. She mocked the smell of oil, teased him for his serious focus, but behind the jokes was a girl clinging to courage. Daniel found himself admiring her resilience even when she doubted herself. He responded with patience, explaining each gear, and sensor, making her feel part of the process rather than just a patient waiting for a cure. With every visit, their bond deepened. Isabella began to trust him, sharing stories about her life before the accident, her love for dancing, her frustrations with being seen only as the billionaire's daughter, and her fear that she would never walk again. Daniel listened, quietly, his humility a balm to her restless spirit. For him, the project was no longer about proving his skill. It was about giving Isabella back something she thought was lost forever. As the final weeks approached, the exoskeleton began to take shape, standing tall in the corner of the garage like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. The day finally arrived when Daniel wheeled the finished exoskeleton into the center of his garage. Its polished frame gleamed under the soft lights, a machine born of sleepless nights, trial, and stubborn determination. Isabella stared at it in awe, her usual playful remarks replaced by a rare silence. Her hands trembled as Daniel helped her into the suit, adjusting the straps and securing the sensors against her skin. Victoria stood nearby, her chest tight with hope and fear, watching every detail as if her entire world depended on what would happen in the next few minutes. With a deep breath, Daniel powered up the suit. A soft hum filled the garage as the machine came alive, its joints responding to Isabella's faint movements. For a moment, nothing happened, and Isabella's face fell. But then, slowly, her legs trembled under the gentle guidance of the exoskeleton. Daniel steadied her, his strong hands offering quiet reassurance. One shaky step followed another. Isabella gasped, her eyes wide as she looked up at her mother. "I'm walking," she whispered, her voice breaking with disbelief. Victoria covered her mouth, tears spilling down her face uncontrollably. In the days that followed, Isabella grew stronger. She visited the garage daily, practicing with Daniel's patient guidance. Each step became more confident, each smile more radiant than the last. She teased Daniel less now, not because she had lost her spark, but because she wanted to savor every moment of her progress. The town soon began to notice. Word spread quickly about the billionaire's daughter walking again, not through money or medical miracles, but through the ingenuity of a humble mechanic whose heart was larger than his workshop. Doctors and engineers soon arrived, curious about Daniel's invention. Some offered him staggering amounts of money to sell the design. Others suggested patents and corporations that would make him rich beyond imagination. But Daniel shook his head firmly each time. "This isn't about profit," he told them. "It's about giving people their lives back." His refusal stunned many, but it also earned him admiration. Victoria, deeply moved by his integrity, promised to fund his work on the condition that he alone decided how the technology would be shared. Together, they created a foundation dedicated to children in need. At the first event of the foundation, Isabella walked on stage in front of hundreds of people. The room fell silent as she took steady steps, her wheelchair now sitting forgotten in the corner. "This suit didn't just help me walk," she told the crowd. "It gave me back my courage. It showed me that kindness and determination can change lives." Her words touched every heart present, and for many, it was not Isabella's wealth but her vulnerability and strength that shined the brightest. She had become a symbol of hope, and Daniel stood quietly in the background, proud but humble. Though his name appeared in newspapers and on television screens, Daniel never allowed the fame to change him. Each morning, he returned to his garage, fixing cars with the same focus as before. Yet now, every spark of his welder and every tightened bolt carried a deeper purpose. For Victoria, he was no longer just a mechanic. He was the man who gave her daughter a miracle. For Isabella, he was the one who believed in her when even she doubted herself. And for Daniel, he had finally found what he'd always longed for: proof that his simple skills could change the world.